SOCAN here with the winner of the SOCAN 2020 Pop Music Award for the song You Broke Me First, as well as the Breakout Songwriter Award. It's Tate McRae. Congratulations, and how are you feeling about winning those awards?
Thank you. I'm very honored. It's very exciting.
Can you tell us how you co-wrote You Broke Me First, which was the Pop Music Award winner, with, I guess it's with Blake Harnage and Victoria Zara?
We wrote that record last January. It was just the three of us in the room. And it's always funny when I tell the story because we never really thought anything of the song when we first got out of the session. It was like legit an hour and a half. And then we were like, I-5, that's a pretty song. And then we left. Didn't think anything of it until like Blake came back with the song like 2 months later and like reproduced it, like literally like I was called Blakeify because he like completely changes the entire thing and makes it a masterpiece. And then we fell in love with the song. But it was like when we first left the session, it didn't really feel like, you know, too much of a weight or anything.
Right. It's kind of wild. I mean, You Broke Me First. It's crazy. It's earned more than 1 billion with a B streams worldwide. We've been on the Billboard US Hot 100 for 33 weeks, like longer than any other song ever released by a female artist in 2020. Why do you think that song has resonated so strongly with people?
I honestly think because as a 17-year-old myself, I'm a pretty honest person with no filter. And the song itself doesn't really have anything to it. It's very straight up in how I was feeling at the moment and talking about a person. And I think people just, relatability is so important. When people find something that, you know, directly connects to their own life, they're going to want to listen to it over and over again.
I guess vulnerability is kind of an important part of that.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's like a therapy session when you go into any writing session. You're like spilling your guts on things that you maybe don't want to talk about, but you can put into songs, which is very scary.
It's also kind of a strange thing because it's the kind of thing you wouldn't say to a friend or to someone you know, and yet here you are exposing it to millions and millions of people in a song.
And I think that's the beautiful part about it is that no one has to know who it's about or what we talked about in the room or, you know, what it was directed towards, what the actual meaning was. It can be interpolated into a million different things.
Does that level of success ever kind of mess with your head in terms of what you're doing or how you're doing it?
No, I think it mostly motivates me. I mean, the success of the song was just exciting. It got me exposed to like a whole bunch of different opportunities that I dreamed of. And so I think it just inspires me to make like the best possible album I can coming up.
How does your songwriting process work generally? Is it different writing alone or writing with a group of people?
Yeah, I mean, I write both ways. Sometimes I write by myself with just my piano, but I feel like when you have like one more support person to like, you know, validate your opinion on things, like usually I'll create a stronger song. But it just honestly depends on the day. If I want to write by myself, I will. If I want to write with a producer, I will.
I've heard people say when I ask them about writing like collaborating with other songwriters, that the key thing is that it has to be a good hang. It has to be a good conversation that ends up in a song, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if the energy's off in the room, you're most definitely not going to write a good song. If it's weird, right, you're not going to want to open up at all and talk about things that actually mean something to you. And then there's not really anything that's meaningful behind the song at all.
How does your songwriting work generally? I mean, do you write does a line come or does a melody come? Especially if you're working with other people, most often, what's your role inside of it?
It depends. Usually I'll freestyle. So people will play stuff and I'll just start freestyling. And then your subconscious brain, most of the time, if you don't think about it, will spit out some sort of concept that has been on your mind all day, but you just didn't really want to say in the room. That's usually what happens with me. I'll be like, I'm not going to tell you about it, but I'll sing it to you in a line. And then we'll be like, oh, this is the concept. That's usually what happens.
I was looking at you actually doing the treatment for the video for Bad Ones. Do you feel like firmly in control of your stuff? I mean, there's nobody kind of putting their fingers on what you're up to without your okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that likes to be fully hands-on. And I have like a big vision of what I want things to look like. And I have a hard time seeing them get watered down. So I usually, especially in the future, I want to get more into co-directing and choreographing and, you know, getting way more involved.
I mean, it's really heartening to see someone who's as young as you are, who's like that much in control of their career, because the history of that has not been a good one.
No, and that's the thing. Like I'm still figuring out what I want my whole look to look like and what I want my sound to feel like. So, as I'm making these executive decisions, I'm still like figuring it out in my head at the same time, and I'm growing up. So, there's a lot of things that go into it at a young age that I'm still learning about.